What was that second one you said? Make some pens and the question. Yeah, I'm sorry. But instead of Fred with FCRT.
What we got to sign with it? I don't know. I'm going to ask. Oh, no. Good. How are you? Good, not flip water. Fine.
How are you doing? Good, good. Really appreciate all the Thanks for all you do. Awesome. Good, good. Busy, hectic, but we're all working each other hard. But it's been going well. It's been a lot of hard work. We've got a lot more work to do still, so we're plugging away. Yeah, good to see you. You met Calpani, right?
No, I've seen one of the pictures.
Yeah, Calpani said this is Isha Branner. So I'm sorry, you were about to ask that. Oh, did you? You're up?
It's like I'm here to do some stuff.
Fair enough. I appreciate that.
I think you girl it in, line it up a little bit. You'll be good.
Did you watch Yeah. I didn't think it was show, but I didn't realize you were. It was that show, yeah. And so I am.
I'm serious. Excuse me. Come here real quick. Put your phone up. I'm asking.
Excuse me real quick.
I need Michael to see that. Michael witness that I'm
Hey,
asking
happy
her.
birthday.
I'm asking her for a phone to witness.
So I can document it in a court of law.
Yes. Yes, please. Just to know. Why would I give her They get their license in the next 30 days. You tell them. I got a conference call. My issue. I mean, I'm the one who's telling them. Well, you she uses 4 different places. You're going to get 4 different places. get him last year. No, I thought he was at once a month. I didn't know. Oh, these are Tiffany for oh, yes. I mean, Tiffany red. Oh, hi. Hello. I'm in this room. Yeah. Okay, I'm setting up. Okay, what you talking about? You should have reason all the stuff you want to say. I would have supported. I would have never hated on you. Honestly, but one more.
Well, I know it's a little overwhelming, but I'll track it down.
You did? That was me. And her. Was. You was not pressing around here like Tuxedo. I'm like, oh, you can't do that. You're equal. Don't worry, you got me a shot.
Oh, you're saying I'm going to sit around this?
What?
My brother won't be here. Throughout the entire
I love you.
I didn't realize we were in
No, you're in the front of my house. We'll still love you.
Yeah, thanks for being here, sir.
Yeah, and by the way, been meaning to reach out for lunch, breakfast,
I would love that.
dinner.
Let's make it happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. Look forward to it. Good morning, everyone. It is so wonderful to have you here. Really terrific to see such a packed house and so much interest in this important endeavor. As all of you know, we're here to talk about the Clinton River Trail connector. Unfortunately, the Clinton River Trail does not go continuously through Pontiac as it does some of our neighboring communities. So we have the Clinton River Trail on the west side of the city from the western boundary of Pontiac to Bagley Street, and then it unfortunately doesn't currently pick up again until Updike on the Auburn Hills border, where it continues eastward. So you can see that old railway line that is where the rest of the Clinton River Trail lies. You can still see that between Bagley and Updike in Pontiac. You can make out where it used to run, but that right-of-way unfortunately was never acquired roughly 30 years ago about when the opportunity had presented itself. So much of that property is now privately owned. We hope longer term to acquire that right-of-way in the long term and hopefully reconnect the Clinton River Trail where it really should be connected along that old railway line. But in the interim, we want to make sure that we're providing another route to connect the two segments of the Clinton River Trail, and that's what we're all here to talk about. We have some tentative notions about what that might look like using Pike Street through downtown, but the details of that have yet to be ironed out, and it's not just about what route this trail connector will take, but also about the details of that route and exactly what amenities it will have and how it will be laid out. So we are very eager to hear from our 5 panelists this morning, as well as, and even more importantly, from all of you. I do want to note as well that not only do we have this town hall that's from now until 1 p.m., but at 1:30 p.m. there'll be a walking tour that will depart from here and walk along Pike Street and kind of the notional route that this connector might take. That's from 1:30 to 3:30 this afternoon. And then this evening, we have an additional town hall right here in City Council chambers from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And so if you have friends or family or neighbors who are interested in being here but weren't able to be at this session because of work, we encourage you to invite them to be here this evening from 6 to 8 p.m. I probably should have introduced myself as well. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Tim Greimel. I'm the mayor of Pontiac. But I'm really excited to introduce our esteemed panelists here. And we've got Abdul Siddiqui, who is our city engineer. We have Isha Branner, who is the executive director and founder and CEO of E-Community Services and does amazing nonprofit work, especially with young people in our community, so it's great to have you here, Isha. We have Samino Scott, who's the executive director of the Pontiac Collaborative Impact Partnership, and so Collective Impact Partnership, I should say, and so thank you, Samino, for your amazing community work. We've got Donovan Smith from our economic, our planning department, but is involved in a lot of economic development work here in the city as well. So thank you for your work with the planning department here. I think at some point today we may be joined by Vern Gustafson, who's the manager of the planning division as well. Then of course we've got Kristin Wilfing here from Oakland County Economic Development, who is the administrator of parks and trails there, and thank you so much for all of your amazing work over so many years with the county, Kristin. So without further ado, I'm going to allow Donovan to kick things off, and I'll be kind of bouncing around here in the audience and in and out of the room throughout. But we look forward to hearing all of your comments. I do really want to emphasize, do not be shy. We want to hear from you. The good, the bad, the ugly, whatever your thoughts are, whatever your input is, that's why we're here, is to hear from you as our residents and community stakeholders. So thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Donovan Smith, and briefly, I just want to share, there's been a lot of great work over several years, some going back as far as 2013, 14, around planning in our parks, our master plans, and our complete streets. The plans have engaged the residents, many of our stakeholders, and we've solicited a lot of input to put these ideas together, and today we get an opportunity to discuss the results of that and continue to push those efforts forward. So when we recently completed our master plan within I think that was completed 2020, yeah, around that time, there were several goals identified in that transportation plan to improve multimodal and multi-purpose transportations methods here in the city. This could be via walking, pedestrian traffic, bike traffic, and things the like. So briefly, before I pass it over, some of those goals include, there we go. Create an interconnected network of trails, sidewalks, on-road bike lanes, protected cycle tracks, and separated bike paths, to encourage and implement traffic calming measures to limit the speed and volume of vehicular traffic through our residential neighborhoods, improve wayfinding throughout the city, more signage of where our amenities and our features are, improve and obtain funding to convert the Woodward Loop two-way traffic, and we do have MDOT here in the back, if they could maybe wave or raise their hands. So when we get to that point, if you have any questions, please send them this way. And then lastly, we're looking to develop a Pontiac non-motorized plan that identifies specific routes, facilities, amenities, and implementation schedule for those improvements, including sidewalks and on and off-road bicycle facilities. So with that, I will pass it over to Dr. Scott, and he will share some of the history around the Clinton River Parks, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
You know, I'm going to stand. See what's being presented. So let me begin by saying good morning, everyone. Morning. My name is Dr. Samino Scott, born and raised here in the city of Pontiac. Just really excited about this project. It's important to note that it didn't just start. This has been something that has been discussed and researched for a number of years here in the city of Pontiac. The Clinton River Trail is a 16-mile trail that goes across Oakland County. It goes through Auburn Hills, Rochester, Pontiac, and Sylvan Lake. It is a recreational, non-motorized trail. It really is a part of the old railroad system that's been around from 1879 to 1978. So it has a rich history, but we're really taking advantage of that infrastructure and turning this into something amazing from a regional perspective and also a local perspective, Again, this is a part of the Great Lake to Lake Trail System that goes from South Haven to Port Huron. Okay, can y'all hear me now? Is that better? Sorry about that. I thought I could enunciate a bit louder. But, and so let me begin also by expressing my gratitude and appreciation to the Friends of the Clinton River Trail for years of work that they put in helping to map, design, and coordinate this effort along with our the city of Pontiac and Oakland County. Let's give them all a round of applause. Again, this has been well over a decade to get to this point, but we're here now. And we have an opportunity now to make sure that your voice is heard and is a part of this process. As Mayor Grimo indicated, today we want to talk about how do we connect this great trail. And what you can see is, again, this is a lake-to-lake trail system that comes into the city of Pontiac and inexplicably stops as it comes into Pontiac and starts again as it enters Auburn Hills. And many of us Pontiac, those of us that are from Pontiac and live here in Pontiac, drive to Auburn Hills on Updike and take that trail right out of Pontiac. It's a beautiful trail, but we deserve to have something like that right here in our city. Do you all agree with that? And the time is now. This is an opportunity for us to seize the moment. And I want to share with you how this looks in other communities. This is in Auburn Hills, right down Auburn Boulevard. If you turn on Adams Road, this is what you'll see. It's a trail that it doesn't just go through, it goes through neighborhoods. It goes past businesses, downtown Auburn Hills. We deserve this. This connects to the streets, it connects to sidewalks. The same thing is possible right here in Pontiac. Don't we deserve that? Here's some additional pictures through a housing development. Many of you have seen this twist and dip, that ice cream place on Auburn Road. The Clinton River Trail goes right behind that facility. And also you see on the my right, the trail going past neighborhoods. You see the place for sitting. You see the beautiful greenery. We can do that in Pontiac. We deserve that in Pontiac. And in addition to the Clinton River Trail, it's also important to note that a part of Pontiac's trail system is the North Spur Trail. Now, those of you that grew up on the north side, you probably don't know it as the North Spur Trail. You know it as the railroad tracks, where folks in the Harrington Hills and the Lancaster and the Newman housing complex would take those railroad tracks to go from one housing complex to the other. And then they would meet up with their friends and take that trail all the way to the Ewalt Center and Galloway Lake. And this trail also goes to J.C. Parks. This is the essence of trails. This is what it could be like in Pontiac. Let me give you another example. This is that same trail, goes behind Lancaster to your left. If you see the picture on the left, it's the opposite view that's going toward the Ewalt Center. To the left is the Newmans. To the right is University Park Apartments. These trails go through neighborhoods and businesses and recreational centers and parks. We deserve this. And now is the time. Let me give you an example of how this happened in other cities. This is Detroit, the DeQuinder Cut. They took an old railroad line that you see to my left and converted it to what you see on the right. If they can do that with this, we can surely do that with this picture. This is our opportunity to do that. And some additional pictures. Again, an old railroad line. Look what it looks like now. Look at the lighting. And if you look closely enough, you'll see a blue light system that adds safety and perhaps even some cameras. I could show you other pictures of businesses that are locating along this trail. Pontiac deserves this, and we deserve it right now. This is the future of Pontiac's Trail. It's up to us. I'm asking you to make your voice heard today. Thank you. Not sure who's next. Why don't we start with Miss Branner, who is
Okay.
I don't think I really. Can I stand? 'Cause he just empowered me to stand, so I feel empowered. So, my name is Isha Branner. I am a long-term Pontiac resident. Yes, I do own a nonprofit called E-Community Outreach Services, but I'm literally here to speak as a resident and a parent that has young children that love to ride their bikes, that love to take a walk, and I also just got a dog too, so that's going to be another point. But when I was asked to start having these conversations with Dr. Samino Scott, I literally was like, I don't know. I didn't even know that there was like another connection in Pontiac. So you have the Mill Dam, and I thought you could just walk back there and just have like a little peaceful walk. It's not pleasant. It's not welcoming there. But it is the same experience if you go out to Auburn Hills. So I did my little investigation because I'm like, okay, I need to know what's going on. And when you go through, so you got the Mill Dam. Once you cross over, which I kid you not, I didn't notice this for like maybe a few months ago. When you look across, you got that entrance to go by the projects. You literally can look and see where it's just dead woods. It doesn't seem safe to go whatsoever. When I noticed that, I'm like, okay, now I noticed that this Clinton River Trail, you can go all the way out to Never Land. But I decided, because I have young children, that I'm going to get up on Auburn Hills because it has lighting, it's welcoming. You have a little parking area where it's basically saying, hey, you come here and walk. It's the same experience, but going into the trail is not. Coming in Pontiac, you can tell that it has not been upkept, which honestly, if it is, I can tell that a lot of people will take advantage of it. It's very peaceful. It's very quiet. When you go on Auburn Hills, you go over that little path. I mean, I just stand there. I mean, I think about throwing rocks at times, but then I don't. Because, when you're a kid, you do that. But it's just a peaceful thing that I see a lot of families doing. In Pontiac, we don't have that, and it's not fair. We got a lot of people who don't have cars, who's driving bikes. That'll be a place for them to go to. Me, from Pontiac, I'm not walking back there. Not after 5, not after 3. That's not right. I feel like if they make, put some flowers out there, put a bigger sign, put some more bike locks, in the front where I did see it a few days ago. I think you can put like 2 bikes. What if you got a family like me that got more than 2 kids? Now I got to try to, had a bike or put it on or hold a bike going down. It just needs to be more presentable for our families to know that, oh, we can go here and we can walk and take it all the way around. When you cross over to the Mill Dam, like I said, never knew it. The branches are all dead. I'm talking about from the Mill Dam across the street all the way out into, I think it stops by Woodside. I didn't even know that. Just knew that today. And I've been here. I mean, I'm only 20 something. So I've been here about 20. That's my age, and that's what I'm sticking to. I didn't know that. I just thought, the little trail you go from, you got to get on Pontiac. We need to, our residents and our families need to know that you can go all the way through from the Mill Dam all the way up to, Never Land? Where are we stopping at? Never, which I wouldn't ride that far. But I would probably stop around Woodside area. But yes, we definitely need to do some upkeep in this area because I'm a biker. I got me a bike last year, so I want to use it. And I don't want to be on the streets doing that. I want to be able to get on a safe little path with me and my children and feel like, okay, this is where we need to be. Okay? Thank you, guys.
So I too will follow suit and stand if that's all right. Hello everyone, my name is Kristin Wilfing. I work with Oakland County in the Economic Development Department, and I'm glad that all of you could join us today. So I just want to get a sense for who's in the room. So do we have any business owners in the city of Pontiac? Excellent, thank you for joining us. Residents? Excellent. Trail users from outside of the city? Oh, we have a couple. Trail users from inside of the city, yay. How many walk? How many bike? How many have four-wheelers and motorbikes that use the trail that you're not supposed to? It's okay. I know you're out there somewhere. So I just want to, shift gears just for a brief moment and talk a little bit about the streets and some of the feedback that we heard when we created the Complete Streets Plan for the city of Pontiac. So that happened in 2017 is when it was created. And this is just some of the feedback that we heard from people that are trying to walk and bike in the neighborhoods and on the major roadways. It's literally a matter of life and death. The city of Pontiac has twice the state's average of crashes between vehicles and pedestrians and vehicles and cyclists. And we can't have that anymore. We have to do better. We have to make our streets safer. We have to make our intersections safer. We have to sign things and mark the crosswalks and make pedestrians more visible. We have to also look at health and wellness because we know that walking and biking is an excellent part of the community and making sure that you're healthy and well. And just getting through this pandemic, we know that there's social isolation going on. So these trails are great places to go out and walk and bike and connect with nature and just rejuvenate yourself. It's also for folks that don't have a choice, right? So the city of Pontiac, there's places where almost 26% of folks don't have access to a car. They have to be able to get to and from work. They have to be able to get to and from the doctor's office. How do they get fresh fruits and vegetables? We have to have a good system and a good network, not just the trails, but also walking and biking on the streets and in the sidewalks to connect to downtown and the neighborhoods. So this is just a map. The darker purple areas have the higher percentages of folks that don't have access to a car. And so that's pretty shocking, pretty striking. But we have to make sure that they're represented as well. Mobility. How do we move throughout the city? In the wintertime, how many of you seen people walking or biking in the streets because the sidewalks aren't plowed? It's a scary situation, right? We have to have a space for those folks to be, and it can't be in the roadway walking. It's not a safe spot to be. We also noted, Ms. Branner, the Clinton River Trail surface is terrible. It's in horrible condition, and I'll show you a picture of what it used to look like when they first surfaced it and what it looks like today. And then talk a little bit about the project that the Friends of the Clinton River Trail have done to raise some funds to complete that maintenance project. We also know that there's traffic safety problems, right? The faded pavement markings. If anyone's been over by the Mill Dam, over by Bodette Park, there used to be a crosswalk there for the trail. If you drive through there now, you won't see any signage for the trail. You won't see any crosswalk markings because over time, they've just faded away. And luckily, we're going to replace those and make it a safer crossing for everyone. Some of the personal safety things. We heard stray dogs were a very big problem in some of the neighborhoods, and people were just scared to walk and bike in the neighborhoods because of the dogs. Lighting issues. We mentioned that. So luckily over the last few years, the city has taken some steps to improve the street lighting at night, but also the overgrown vegetation, right? Where's this at? Does anybody know? That's South Boulevard. There's a 5-foot sidewalk under there. That's before and after, right? So we've actually worked with the Friends of the Clinton River Trail because South Boulevard is the current sidewalk connection for the trail through the city. It does not go through the downtown, and it looked like the picture on the left. You can see the same spot with the railroad track sign. And now you can see people can walk and bike there, and it is a little bit more inviting. It's a little bit more friendly, and it's not as scary as it used to be before it was cleared back. Right? So then we also heard we need to raise awareness with our kids. We need to teach them how to bike and walk safely in the city. So the Healthy Pontiac Weekend Coalition did the Healthy Pontiac Fit Fest at the Mill Dam. And we gave bikes away, helmets to make sure that they were safe while they were out there biking. And we want to make sure that, all of these programs are, spread far and wide through the city. So the Oakland County Health Division actually created mailers and mailed them to every resident in the city on how to walk and bike safely. So I don't know if anybody received those a couple years ago. If not, I'd be happy to, get those posted on the website so folks can see those resources as well. And then just some of the other things that we heard. People want to have walking trails within the parks, and they want to connect them to the citywide sidewalk network. So we're also working on that with this Complete Streets plan. And then complete the Clit River Trail. We heard that time and again throughout our time with residents when we did the Complete Streets plan. So I know folks mentioned the trail, but I just want to mention where it goes and where it starts and where it ends. So the city of Rochester is on the right-hand side. Pontiac is on the left-hand side of your screen. So it goes 16 miles. And you'll notice, I don't know if this has a pointer, but right where the C is for Pontiac, I do apologize, that drop down. But you'll see that it takes a sharp turn to the south and then a sharp turn to the west and then back up. That's the piece where the old railroad track used to go that we did not purchase. So if I could. So it's this piece. The railroad actually continued through here. It was sold off roughly in the late 1980s, and it's been parceled up, but we think we've found some additional information on the ownership. So if you do go by Bodette Park, the picture on the upper left-hand side, you'll see there's a Clinton River Trail sign. But where's the trail? Looks like a single track, right? It's a terrible condition. And then I just want to point out the folks in the lower left, that's a bicycle group that stopped in downtown Pontiac to have a bite to eat as they were on their trail ride. So it's also an economic driver, right, for the city. So we have folks that are willing to stop at our restaurants and grab a bite to eat. Now, Dr. Scott mentioned the North Spur, the railroad track. That's the dashed blue line. So again, you can kind of see it picks up where the Clit River Trail is at Updike Road in Auburn Hills, and it goes all the way up to J.C. Park up on Walton Boulevard to the north. So it's about a 4.5-mile stretch. That's what it looks like, the picture on the left-hand side. Now, it's gorgeous. There are some beautiful views of the nature in the surrounding parks and surrounding areas. There's 2 ponds. So Spring Lake is the pond on the right-hand side. But it's just gorgeous, and there's such an opportunity to connect the neighborhoods in with this and create a great place for folks to be. And if you take M59, right by where the old Silverdome is, you drive right underneath it. Probably didn't even know you did, but that's where that bridge is. So I just want to mention the railroad tracks in the city. So that blue line that just showed up, that's the active Canadian National line where the train station is right now, over on Woodward. That's that railroad track. It goes all the way up into Waterford Township and up into Holly. That light blue line is the Clinton River Trail. The dashed piece is the portion that was not purchased. And then the solid line again is where it picks up over on the west side of the city. This green line, if anybody's familiar with the Pollyant Trail, this is the railroad track where that's that same railroad track that the Pollyant Trail uses. So this is where it begins in the city of Pontiac. And then the dashed line is the North Spur. The solid line is an active railroad line that goes up into Orion Township. That's the piece that we are trying to solve today. So we need your feedback and your help. We've got some maps and some information around the room. And we'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas. But this trail has been going on. The railroad abandoned it in 1998. City purchased it in 2002. It is a city park. So the maintenance falls on the city. It is part of the park system. We've made some improvements over the years. We've had some walk and talks with residents and city staff. We've purchased the North Spur in 2017. The city did that with the assistance of a DNR grant. And now we're resurfacing. So I just want to mention that. And then this Crosstown Greenway connector, I don't know what else to call it, but this is what we hope to get your feedback on today. And it's also part of that Great Lake
bed between MLK Boulevard and Updike. And that will again delay the project. So we'll need to acquire right-of-way, do environmental cleanup. It's not something that could be done right away. And then just putting a route along MLK, again, we had discussion of not being family friendly, right? And you probably don't want families riding along MLK, even with separated facilities. The volumes are just so high on the road. So it's a possibility. It's not what we would recommend, and we'd welcome your feedback on that. And then we'll go up to the green one, which is alternate 3. And that was a nice, that was originally proposed in the Complete Streets Master Plan for the city. It was a really nice route. It's very scenic. It goes along M59. However, the opportunity to acquire that right-of-way has passed us now, and we'll run into the same issues pursuing that route anymore. Is just delays with right-of-way acquisition and all that. So finally, we settled on alternate 1 is what we would recommend, and again, we're welcoming your feedback on that right now at this meeting, which will connect from Bagley, the current trailhead there, go up Bagley, across Orchard Lake, up Front Street, through downtown, and then all the way over to Eastway, and then up Eastway, and then to the North Spur Trail. And then obviously there's several benefits here. It takes you through downtown, brings that traffic through downtown, some hopefully tourists and so on. Pike Street's also a low volume street. It's going to be safer for families riding along there. And then the other benefit is, as Dr. Samino had mentioned, was the North Spur Trail. And the city, spent resources to acquire that right-of-way. And this alternate would develop that, at least half of that trail system, so that in the future we can develop it further north. But from Eastway or from Michigan south to Updike, that North Spur Trail would be developed as part of this alternate. There are some drawbacks to this alternate. The road will need to be narrowed. Obviously, it will still be 2 lanes. Right now, it's basically a lane and a half each direction. It'll have to come down to a lane in each direction, right? So that extra space won't be there. That will be used up with the bike facility that will be proposed to make the trail connection. And then there's a lot of utility work that needs to be done there as well, coordination, and that's something that we will work on through our design process if we pursue this this route. And finally, I think that's it. So there's the same map is in the back there. You can all take a look at it. The advantages and disadvantages are listed. Sorry, it's on the side in front of the council table. So stop by, read it, ask questions, and let us know what your thoughts are on the various routes. And I'll turn it over to Jill Hayes from our engineering consultants, who is going to talk about the different type of facilities that we could put on any of these routes.
Thank you. Thanks, Joel. So I'm excited to be here talking about this. I think, the focus today is really to talk about these routes, this trail system. But in doing that, one of the things that's as important, I think, is to spark your imagination. What can these look like? How do you change this street from what it looks like today to what it could look like to create that trail system, to create that feel of sharing the roadway, having an opportunity for people to walk and bicycle as comfortably as they currently drive their cars. And that's why we have a selection of examples and cross sections here. And again, I just want to reiterate that these are one visualization. Actual bike facilities across the country, they vary as much as communities vary. These can, there are general design standards, but The application can be catered to fit what's best in the community, and that's the other reason we're here today. And the feedback that we're looking for is what makes you comfortable? What's going to work in the community of Pontiac so you can ride with your kids? I think that's really important. Who's going to use this? How are they going to use it? What do they feel comfortable riding on? No one wants to build something that no one's going to use. So I really hope that you take some time to look at the facilities, to talk to the people here, and communicate to Abdul and everyone about, how do we transform this to not just create a trail, but to create a trail that fits Pontiac. And so I'm just going to give you a brief overview. Like I said, there's a lot of different bike facility types. We've broken them into 2 boards here, on street and off street. Could we... Let's see, can we start with the on-street ones? I think when you think bike lane, this is what most people think of. The conventional bike lane, a painted line on the roadway. Down at the bottom is kind of the shared street lane. This is your baseline bike facility. Communities have started using this just to remind people in a very low-cost, easy way that bikes aren't going to be on the roadway. You need to pay attention to them. This is similar to the earlier shared street that I believe Kristin showed, really helpful in smaller, low volume, low speed residential areas where you don't need to create something completely separate, but you need to remind everyone that the road is shared. It also provides traffic calming, lowering speeds, improving safety, giving it more of a neighborhood feel. So again, low cost, but typically that's the least comfort level for bicyclists. I'm not necessarily going to ride down that with my 5-year-old. But then you get to the unprotected bike lane. Again, this is also frequently referred to as a conventional bike lane. It's been used all over the country. Creates a visual separation for the bicyclists, but they're still on the road next to the vehicles. And again, more comfort, I would say, typically than the shared, but also tends to serve more of an experienced bicyclist or a commuter type bicyclist, not necessarily users of all ages and abilities. And then you get to the on-street protected bike lanes. These are really popular and being implemented in cities all over the country because they do create a physical separation, which adds to that sense of safety and protection and creating a space for bicyclists that's separate from the sidewalk and it's separate from the roadway. These do come with a cost burden, a maintenance burden. Those bollards can be a lot to take down in the winter. They get hit by snow plows, some of that. So there has to be a commitment for the maintenance on this. And then they also require specialized equipment at the intersections. And so, where they're used in downtown Chicago and other places, they have special bicycle traffic signals that use them. But again, great opportunities to share the road when you have that space and keep it off separate from the pedestrians. Nick, you can go to the other one. The next category, kind of how we broke this up, is then you have off-street facilities. These tend to be more like your trails. These are where you may be intermingling or at least putting next to each other the pedestrians and the bicyclists, completely separating them from the vehicles. These tend to be preferred for recreational cyclists and families who are, maybe not as comfortable riding in the roadway. So the off-street cycle track, it's kind of like a trail next to the road, can also be called a side path. You can see here it can be physically separated from the roadway with a curb, but also separated from the sidewalk. And then you have a protected bike lane. Again, that just is where maybe you don't have as much room on one side. So when you have a side path, you have both directions on one side of the road. You can also split that to be more like the road and have one direction on each side of the road. And then on the bottom, you have the side path or kind of like a shared use path where it's basically a very large sidewalk. And you get pedestrians and bicyclists. Again, it's well suited for when you don't want to be on the road, but also you don't have a large amount of people walking on the sidewalks, so you don't have those pedestrian and bicycle conflicts. So again, these are comfortable off-lane facilities. These are just some examples. they can look many, many different ways. And so I welcome your feedback today. And as you consider these different routes and the ways to get the trail through the city, how those facilities could be designed to be most appropriate for the people who are going to use it.
Thank you, Jill. I think at this point, the presentations are done, and we'll open it up for questions and answers if anyone has any questions here. We could, yeah. Go ahead. You can ask it over here.
My name is Beatrice Wright. I am a resident and former educator in the city of Pontiac. I wanted to know about the various funding sources. I heard someone speak about funding sources, and I'm always interested in grants that relate to improving our city, especially one of the major interests that I have. I hope that the Department of the Interior has grants that relate to removing old wood. Now, if you drive around Pontiac, you will see between properties if you just drive along M59, some of the most horrendous looking old wood right there beyond the cemetery or along the cemetery. But I just want to know about grants. You know, the various granting organizations. Okay?
That one. Thank you for your question. Part of my position at the county is also assisting local communities with grant writing. And so one of the largest funding sources that we have, and I don't know if I can stand and so folks can see me, but the Michigan Department of Transportation and the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments, they oversee the federal transportation bill funds that go directly toward walking and biking facilities. And so we can't use those to fill potholes. We can't build new roads with those, but we can build walking and biking facilities. And that's called the Transportation Alternatives Program. And that comes from federal funds. We also have recreational grant programs. There's several of those. So the Department of Natural Resources will build trails and pathways for shared use paths, like on the old railroad track at the North Spur. So they have funds for those. Those are called the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund. And then there's also other federal sources. There's the RAISE grant. So if anyone's familiar with the bridge that goes over Telegraph, that was a previous version. We used federal funds to build that bridge over Telegraph for the Clinton River Trail. So that's the RAISE grant is the new federal. But on that list of funding sources for the maintenance trail project, you'll notice there's a lot of community foundations and a lot of private foundations. And there's a lot of folks that are very interested in this project to help from the private side. So a lot of those are business foundations or like the community foundations have different endowed funds that they can use to fund these types of projects. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, thank you for that question.
To inbox me messages, but I'm going to read this. One of the residents said, suggest put signage that has mile markers for those who want to, well, I guess it's not a question. This is a suggestion. Put a signage that has mile markers for those who want to know if they're walked or rode their bikes for 1 mile. Also, resting areas and, if possible, a water fountain to rehydrate. Informational maps for things to do in Pontiac. Bike racks for those who want to get off their bikes and walk instead.
Perfect. Yep. So I'm going to split that up into two things. The Clinton River Trail portion that goes between Telegraph Road and Bagley Street has a lot of those amenities on it. So we do have wayfinding signage. There's a map at each of the road crossings. At Orchard Lake Road, there's one at Bagley, and there's one at Telegraph. We also have mile markers and half-mile markers along the trail at that location too. But once that transitions into like a sidewalk or a side path or a cycle track, we can actually do additional signage into the downtown. And we can also put mileage on those as well. So I think that's a great suggestion. There's a board in the back of the room that we're going to add all of those things to. So come see me when we get to that portion, and I want to make sure we write all of those things down because those are great suggestions. Yes, yep, perfect. Welts.
And I think we've got a couple people who have been patiently waiting to ask questions. Chuck Johnson and Alita as well, perhaps.
Okay, I'm Alita Reyes, and I live in Pontiac. I was just wondering, because I've taken a lot of the trails. My granddaughter, she's a cross-country runner, and I ride them because I can't keep up with her. But we have seen and we have came upon trucks that come in and dump. So, I mean, is there anything that we're going to be able to do to stop that? The only thing that, and running with my granddaughter, she said that they should have motion detectors so that lights come on and maybe they'll stop if they think that there's a camera. But other than that, you know, we just turn and go the other way because there's no way I'm going to get involved in that. But yeah, we've seen large trucks come in and actually dump.
Yes, thank you. I can address that. I've been with the Friends of the Clinton River Trail in the city on a number of cleanups, and it's certainly a problem. So on that piece that's between Telegraph and Bagley, we're going to be trying to create a pinch point with bollards. So those are like the posts in the ground that would prevent motor vehicles from being able to drive back there. But the center bollard will have a locking mechanism on it so that we can still get maintenance vehicles back in there when we actually need folks to be able to do that. But I have filled the bed of my truck more times than you can imagine with garbage bags from folks that dump, and it is a problem. But thank you for that. And we'll write that down. Make sure you stop by and see me too, because I want to make sure we take that down. Yeah.
I don't have a question. My name is Chuck Johnson. I want to make a statement. Going forward with this plan to do this trail in the areas that we're going to be trying to go through here, especially in the downtown area and so forth. But I want to step back for the lady who spoke about the broken limbs, underbrush on the side lots. It's my understanding that that each council person has a dollar amount that's in their budget that's going to allow for certain things to be done in their community. I think we should look at taking some of those dollars and cleaning up these side lots and the branches that are falling instead of just picking up papers. Let's take some of the blight out of the air so that when you look out in front of you, you certainly can see the trail is a lot better. Now, I've shared with the mayor, and he's already alluded to on many occasions about how we can do things as it relates to that. And I've offered to him the demolition effort that we do in Pontiac. Those contractors who do demolition should be required, as they are in the city of Detroit, to clean those side lots, to cut that brush down, clean it up. That's a part of the demolition. If you got to have a few bucks more, so be it. Let's clean up the lots because this is very important. It's not just picking up papers. The next thing I want to emphasize is that, and I know this may not go very far, but I want to say the downtown Pontiac, that's all we say is downtown Pontiac. Let's change some of these images and thoughts. Why don't we change the city, change the downtown Pontiac syndrome? Let's call it Pontiac Springs for an example. And then we can create something in those parks or those openings between the buildings that would give way to some kind of a beautification, water, something that had to do with springs, so to speak, to give a different image, a different way of thinking, so that when we have people coming into the city, they can see that we're all about getting this town back together. Along with Mayor Grimel and our council, we're going to make it happen. Thank you very much.
Let's see, good morning or afternoon? Afternoon. Lucy Payne, District 5. Chris and I, we've had like many meetings together trying to revitalize and bring the
District 5 Galloway Lake area over there to make sure everyone knows that beautiful lake that's there. And we've just kind of had ideas about paddle boats, rental fishing rod, fishing for and making sure that those decks are also great for that. So one of the things, we need to utilize that lake. Thank you. One of the things that I had envisioned, and Jim, and I don't know his last name, from Harrington Hills, actually brought this to our attention at one of our district meetings, is that there is a walk path that goes from Galloway Lake all the way through to University. I mean, to where the bridge, where Amazon, Featherstone. Okay, all right. So is that one of the spurs that we're cleaning up?
It is. It's the north spur that runs north-south up to Galloway Lake Park, and then south all the way down by Spring Lake, and then intersects the old railway line where the Finn River travels.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yes. Okay, well, that's what I wanted to make sure, that we didn't leave that trail out, and I just couldn't see it for the trees.
Just real quick, up by the letter C, right where that label is, that's where the high school and the middle school are located. So if you go just across Perry, that's where Galloway Lake is. So it connects right into the western side of the park right there with the North Spur. So it's a great opportunity to link all of those neighborhoods with the park as well. I forgot to mention that early. Thank you. Yep.
With hello, I'm Kenyatta Bowman. I'm an avid Clinton Trail user. So option 2 and option 1 can kind of be combined per se, but I would say if we don't use it, Pontiac has to give back park space. So that section can be created as a linear park, and it still can have the bike trail and walkway, and then come back around and connect to the northern spur. That we can use solar lighting and things like that to help cut cost on electric and things for lighting and different options. So I think that maybe we should look at different approaches to utilize, maybe if someone wants to take a longer route down. So option A, that's great, but the linear aspect with the park that can come back around and connect to the northern spur.
Yes.
I think that would be a wonderful option to give someone greenery, scenery to look at and things like that. That's always an appealing thing. And Pontiac doesn't just need one option. If we're going to have, we can have several options on ways to connect to get on, because I enjoy the scenery. I enjoy waterways, and that if we created a linear park, that would definitely give back to, because Pontiac owes the state back some acreage for park space. So maybe that can be another option for a linear park and bike trail.
Yeah, and we're definitely pursuing that as well. I mean, with this option 1, that would also come in play as well. To try and recoup some of that lost acreage of parks as well. So the other thing here with Route 1 is that it's something that could be done very quickly. In the next couple of years, we could get started on construction on that project. So it's the most shovel-ready project right now. So.
And then quickly, there's also another option when cutting through, and we possibly can create signage. I live on Pike Street, just on the end of Franklin. I usually cut over from Franklin right at the light. I can go up the road and connect right on that same trail, so that we can give people more options to use more of Pike Street. I wouldn't mind, even though that's right in front of my house. fantastic. So
Yeah, and
thank you.
And you know, like I said, so we are. That's the quickest connector that we can complete. However, there's several routes that we're pursuing. As I mentioned, there's also that southern route along South Boulevard. That is also going to be coming up in the future, as well as the one that was logical, right? So along the old trail bed. That's also something that if we can get the right-of-way worked out and all the environmental issues, then that's something that could also be pursued in the future. So like you said, yeah, there should be multiple routes, and there will be multiple routes. But for now, I think to get started, that alternate one is what we would recommend, and we're going to pursue, unless there's feedback otherwise.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jose Ibarra. I am a resident here in the city of Pontiac, District 3. Really just came up here to speak on a concern that I have. As a seasonal worker, I worked at Auburn Hills Department of Public Works, and one of my responsibilities, of course, was to maintain the Clinton River trails. Of course, it was an easy job. I had somebody with me, another seasonal worker as well, and we made sure maybe it wasn't once a week, more like once a month. We just rode through the trails to make sure there was no major garbage or major dumps or whatever. I would just like to make sure that the city as well is making sure that our DPW has the capability of taking care of this big responsibility. And so, yeah, just wanted to make sure that we're not only focusing on this trail, but the people who are going to take care of this trail and the people who maintain the city, you know, to make sure that it has a beautiful look. So, yeah, just wanted to keep in mind of our DPW. Thank you.
Thank you. And we know the mayor's definitely aware of that, and he's definitely pursuing, options to enhance the trail maintenance as well. So we're in discussions with the mayor on these issues.
I know you'll take care of it. You're the best.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Melanie Rutherford. I'm City Councilwoman for District 1. 3 things. The first thing I want to ask, have you guys reached out to Girl Track, which is to be a corporate sponsor? I think that's a great opportunity to talk about better health, better living. Girl Track is a national program that helps us get revitalized and get us refocused. I think a lot of us in the past haven't been given a healthy perspective of what the trail could actually do. So we need to do more PR in that regard. I think that's an excellent program. Also, Get Up and Move is another one that's branched out of Detroit, FYI, and Girls on the Move. That's number 1. Number 2, I would highly suggest that we do motion lights in certain areas, especially by Washington Park where I live at, because if you look on the right-hand side of the trail, there's a huge amount of dumping that has been done in the past. And what I don't want to happen is that we're walking back there, minding our own business. The lights are not optional. They're not working properly. And then someone is actually endangered. Thirdly, the bridge that's by Bethune, the old Bethune Elementary School site, if you guys are familiar with that on the trail, are we going to incorporate, or is there going to be some private funds to get that bridge prepared? Because although we don't own it, it is a part of the trail, and I don't want anyone to be hurt. I'm asking these questions because for people who are morbidly obese or people who are in a situation where they're trying to learn how to walk so they can basically run, we have to make it viable for them too. It can't just be for people who are actually healthy. There are people that are trying to be healthy, and we want to make it more welcoming and becoming. And those are my 3 questions. Thank you.
You can address the trail, the existing trail maintenance, but as far as the lights and so on, I think that these amenities are things that we're definitely welcoming that feedback and will incorporate into the project for the connector. And we're planning on having another meeting coming up probably in April, with focus specifically on the route that we're going to be pursuing, and at that point we'll bring some of those features forward as well. So
Councilwoman, thank you for your comments. I would like to talk to you more about the bridge, so I can understand some of your concerns. I think you're talking about the one that goes over the Clinton River, and so that bridge does have a natural surface on it, but it's filled in with grass. And so we will be resurfacing that with a very hard, compact, crushed limestone, so that it will be a firm and stable surface and ADA compliant for all of our residents to be able to use. We're also going to fix the bridge railings. So there are some very dangerous pieces of that railing that have kind of separated over the years. There's many things that we're going to be doing to reconstruct those railings, so make it a little bit more pedestrian friendly. So, but yes, let's talk a little bit more when we break. And I know we have a couple more folks that have questions, but I want to be mindful too to give folks an opportunity to see some of the displays as well. So how many, do we have a sense of how many folks have questions? Okay, just a couple. So let's take a couple more questions and then we'll break. And then if you have specifics, come and talk to us at the tables. We'd love to hear your feedback and take your comments down so we can record those as well. Thank you.
Well, as long as we have you, Kristin, I was interested in the historical background of the trail itself. And that would lead itself, I would think, to historical monies available through the National Forestry Service. Try that 3 times. I believe there's money available there that can help with the cleaning out of the dead wood and such as that. The South Boulevard or MLK options, to me, are non-viable because there's such a traffic flow there now, both commercial and residential. We don't need to add anything more to that. As a person who used to bike trail a lot, the blue light system works very well. And I don't know why that wouldn't work in Pontiac. It works everywhere else. And it's less expensive. My question would be, what about electric attachment availability, and which trail gives us the best access for the least amount of money?
So those are options that we'll look into as far as the electric connections and so on. It's something we can bring up at the next meeting. I believe along Pike Street we have a lot of we have the electric poles running there right now, so that should be pretty easy to get the feed off of there. Regarding South Boulevard and MLK, I agree as far as the volumes. However, South Boulevard, if we were to pursue that, that would be more aimed at commuters to work, right? So people going back and forth from the employment centers rather than family. So this route along Pike Street would be more family oriented, and the South Boulevard path would be aimed at the commuters.
And I could just address some of the history in the area. And I know we have worked with the Oakland History Center right here in the city of Pontiac on some other interpretive signage. And so we just installed a new signage with Council President McGinnis. He helped us out digging through some of the research on that. So thank you. But I think there is a great opportunity to pay tribute to the history, the people, the places, what built the city, the people from the city that are significant, and we keep... Yes, yep. And I do want to mention, we keep calling it the North Spur. There's no historical significance to that whatsoever. It was actually known as the Beltline Railroad. That's the name that it was given. But it's not to say that we can't name it after a significant figure from the city of Pontiac. So let's talk about that too, because I think, again, we can just pay tribute to our history in the area. The removal of trees, the dead trees and the brush that's overhanging. Let's talk about some of the funding sources for that. They're fewer and far between for tree removals than tree plantings. We can usually find a lot more funding to put trees in the ground rather than take them out. But let's talk about that a little further, and maybe we can come up with a way to address some of those issues as well.
This is a great conversation. Thanks for everyone for coming out, and for the new administration having so many community engagement options. It hasn't been raised, but I think it's worth pointing out the reason why this conversation is happening now, because the will is here, the resources are here, and the leadership's here. But also there are some very looming roadway matters that are happening that intersect with this. So Pike Street is bad, meaning it's really deteriorated. So it's incumbent on us to repair it, to replace it. And so when we do that, that's a great opportunity because that funding is being lined up and that's a priority in the next few years. That's why the Pike conversation is so timely. But also, prior to the state making massive reconfiguration for the Woodward Loop, we want to, as the city, say this is what works best for us residents, for us businesses, us stakeholders, and this is how we'd like the people to be able to traverse it. So I just wanted to raise that because I don't know that I heard that, but it's important because that is so time sensitive for us to center that conversation, because many people may say, why this versus any other priority? Well, it's because we can strike now and strike before some things might be literally etched in concrete for a generation or so that would make it really hard to then redo or reconfigure to better work for residents. But we brought these ideas up more broadly about what residents in District 7, the East Side, would like to see in the last 2 East Side community meetings, and a lot of feedback was, whatever route it is, we want to see a lot of seating options. So benches are going to be a big perk, and then having those sort of amenities along the way that were just raised in terms of interesting wayside markers about what this site once was, or interesting things about the community's history, and then to have it beautiful, to have it naturally staged. And Mr. Johnson, who, literally we live very close to where this footprint would be for Pike Street. We would see it every day, that we want people that are utilizing it, that live near it, for it to be just sort of cohesive and integrated, and it's not sort of in isolation or it's built and then forgotten forever. There's a lot of value in how do we keep enhancing it from every user's point of view, every resident's point of view, and there's a lot of work that we have to do, whether a trail goes nearby any part of our town or not, and we acknowledge there's a lot of work to do, but this trail can bring a lot of resources and a fresh burst of momentum and attention, so I'm grateful that that's part of the conversation, but that was the biggest feedback. They want to be able to walk somewhere that it's easy to get to, it's pretty clear-cut what it is, but also that it's pleasant, and there's a lot of seating options as folks go along the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President.
I just want to get one last bite of this apple, and to the lady, I don't remember the name.
Mr. Johnson, if I may interject there, tagging on to what Council President said, let me sort of give a breakdown of the schedule here. So MDOT's has a couple posters in the back about the Woodward Loop project. That's going forward in 2024 in construction. And so and then they also have the project at the intersection of South Boulevard and Woodward, which is happening in the fall of 2023. And so in conjunction with both of those projects, we have this opportunity now because Pike Street intersects with Woodward. So if we're going to do something on Pike Street, we can coordinate our design with MDOT's design. Same thing with South Boulevard at this moment as well. So that's where we're at. Thank you for raising that, Council President. Go ahead, Mr. Jones.
Yeah, real quick. The lady spoke about maybe hiring or doing something as it related to the tree part of this makeup. We have a very new tree company in the city located right on the trail, and I know that this individual will be more than happy to assist in whatever effort that we take here. And also, I want to be mindful, there's the image that we need to attend to in the community. We have to change the images so that people will get another clear overview and another thought. I want to make mention of a lady that used to come here to our council meetings. I can't remember Bernice's last name, but she used to advocate her age when she came here. She was a very elderly lady, but she was an adamant person with the Clinton River and the makings of the Clinton River Trail. So I'm hopeful that we can maybe somewhere down the road name a part of that trail after Bernice. I can't think of Bernice's last name, but if anybody knows her last name, they can bring it up or maybe tell. Her name was Bernice. She was an older lady. Who? It might have been Ferguson, but you know who I'm talking about. And she was a very respectful lady, and she needs to have a part of this makeup. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I think we'll stop the actual presentation and the question and answers here. And if you all want to make your rounds and we have exhibits in the back and along the side over there. A lot of the same information is presented again, and you can also jot down your questions and your thoughts on several of these exhibits.
And lastly, if you have any other questions that come up on the podium, there are white sticky notes where you can leave questions, and then around the room on a lot of the maps are blue sticky notes where you can also leave questions, and we'll kind of aggregate those and use those to put our final reports and findings together.
One last comment, and actually more of a question. How many folks are going with us on the walking tour? We're going to be going to the west, which would be toward downtown. So we have a couple. Okay, so we're going to actually meet downstairs on the first floor, right in the open space, just at the bottom of the stairway. We've got some safety vests, and we have some different activities that we'll be doing while we're out on the walk for folks to pay attention to, and look for. So I look forward to seeing you all on the walking portion too, and talking to you at the tables as well. Thank you.